Have you ever asked yourself how it's possible that one relationship of planets like Venus and Mars in 7th house can give so different results in different charts? Maybe you have observed, maybe you have two friends who have or share the same combination, and this is manifesting totally different for each of them. They can be in different signs, they can also be or have a different strength, they can be exalted or debilitated. They may be posited differently from different karakas, like Moon and Sun and Venus, or even the lords, like 7th Lord or 10th Lord. Also, one yoga may be differently placed from the Arudha, and ultimately there may be the differences in the divisional charts, like Navamsha and other, like the Shamsa and so on. This is what I call the positive disappointment, because you see, you are exposed to that experience that it's not so easy, that there is a little bit more challenge to understand this cosmic language of astrology, of karma, of rishis. And this is the needed drive, because without that positive disappointment, you would not have drive to dive deeper and to discover the real gems of Vedic astrology. So we can suspect that all of these professional astrologers who are the authors of this very complex and very nuanced way of interpreting the chart, they must have also go through this experience and be born on that brighter side of astrology. And this coincidence very nicely with the new option in Devaguru, because now we have this possibility to make a professional research. We can choose planets in signs or houses. There are many options. It's in the alpha phase, but it's already quite powerful. For example, we can choose show me all charts with Sun in the 1st house or Sun in Libra, or every planet in every house or every sign, whatever you want to do. And you can even make some kind of and or combination, so you can add principle, you can stack them and get very interesting results. And what I love about this specific version of this, because we already had that in Sri Jyotistar, but in this version we can see the rating, so you can only choose the AA or A or B, whatever is your level of astrological OCD, or you may also choose the year. For example, you can exclude all of these people which were born in 19th century or things like that. So it's very handy, and by one click you can already open the chart. Very useful, very powerful options for those who are blessed by Rahu or love for the research. Natural assumption would be that similar yogas should give the similar manifestation. So if we take 5 people with the same yoga, that should manifest in quite similar way. Also, we can do the other way. We can collect people with the same life experience, like, for example, people with 3 marriages, or people without children, or people who had some specific ailment or some financial troubles, and we expect that this astrological chart should also return us with similar results. So in this video we will take one such yoga, Venus and Mars in the 7th house, and then we will see how the modifiers are doing their thing and how they are changing the whole scenario. What is Venus Mars? Probably you know. We can say there are many interpretations. The other name is Bahustri. It may manifest externally, like many relationship, or even some Mars-related things in a relationship, like conflicts or even accidents. Or this can manifest internally as this kind of predisposition for many relationships. And as we know, the 7th house is opposite to the first. First is we, and the 7th house will be the others. Why we have chosen this yoga? It's easily falsifiable, so we have those strong demarcation lines. It's either yes or no, so it's quite binary. Secondly, it is quite well documented in biographies, so it's easy to find. Third is that it's one of those 3 main areas: career, life, relationship, and health. And fourth, that we can go in extremes in both directions. If there is some yoga in the chart, we have 3 features. It may go in some direction, and there are many options. It can go in various directions. We will see how this yoga is going in different directions. Also the level. And when we are talking about the level, there are few demarcation lines which are putting the person into different categories. For example, you may be just flirty with that yoga. This is Venus and Mars, you are flirty. But sometimes it can push one into the affairs, right? So if you want to check something, then first you need to decide for a category, because otherwise there are no demarcation lines and it's very hard to check. So this yoga is representing the part of life which has all of these features, therefore it would be a nice candidate for the research. Before going further, we also need to make a few things more clear. We need to zoom out a little bit and understand that the Venus is not restricted to relationship. In fact, it's showing the ihaloka sukha, the enjoyment in this world. As we can imagine, this will encompass so many things, but definitely it's a creativity. Therefore, many people with this yoga, especially when related to this 7 and 10, will be working, as I have observed, in very creative type of jobs. And one part of that whole creativity and happiness and that Venus thing in life will be the relationships. The 7 house is also not restricted to relationships. Therefore, it is so important to understand this, because if we see that in the 7th house, we may omit so many parts of life related to this yoga. And therefore, it's very good to make those examples, because they are pushing us to zoom out. We will observe, oh, in this chart, it is just showing the, for example, taking part in contests, or in this chart, it's all about building the luxurious shops, like the CEO of Louis Vuitton, Bernard Arnault. We have also here Venus Mars in the 7th house. So there are many levels indicating many perspectives. Are these really perspectives? This is also this conflict between East and the West, because we could say these are layers, ontological layers or epistemological layers. So are there only mind categories, or they are really substances or energies which are working or being on different levels? This is very interesting. And Jung also was very creative about this point. When he was analyzing the Upanishads, I remember he was writing about this, that these tattvas, he was writing that these tattvas, you can almost touch them, right? So they are not only conceptual categories, but we are talking here about different energies. And therefore this philosophical paradigm related to Vedic astrology is a little bit different, because here those symbols will represent different layers of more or less subtle reality. So the first point, and the point of the start, especially if we are looking at this ontological order, would be the Panchanga. Panchanga are these 5 elements of time, Vara, Tithi, Karana, Yoga, and the Nakshatra. Most of us know the Nakshatra, but there are 4 more. For example, the day on which you were born, and also the lunar day. They are very important because they are controlling something very essential in your life, like what is the nature, the quality of your fire, how is your water doing in your life, how is the air, the prana or the earth doing in your life. What is fantastic is that you can assign a planet to that specific portion of time and analyze that planet together with your whole chart. A very nice part of astrology which was forgotten for a long time and was revived by our tradition, by our school of astrology. So if this Venus-Mars in the 7th, because we are talking about that, if this is somehow related to a Panchanga dosha, dosha is affliction. So there is some affliction of elements of time. For example, if the planet of day and the planet of the lunar day, if they are together, this is not good. They are forming a problem, which is called Panchanga Tattva dosha. In the Lionel Dumont, who was a terrorist, he was involved in a very extreme project, and finally he was arrested and put in jail. He was sentenced. This Venus and Mars yoga in his chart is related to this Vara, Tithi, Tattva dosha. There will be more negative something about this yoga. There will be some problem, and this problem will be quite important because the one element is like, from some perspective, is like 1/5 of your life, right? So here we can see that your whole water and your whole fire is related to this problem. The other thing will be the lordship. If this is related, for example, to 10th or 4th, then create life related to a place. This could be studio, this could be shops, some boutiques, this could be some yoga place, office, things like that. So in Bernard Arnault chart and in Kate Bosworth chart, we have this connection to 7 and 10. In Kate Bosworth, we have even the Parivartana, and although she is the actress, she had many properties. Caracas, Mars and Saturn are also giving their votes because the Mars and Saturn are all about the properties. And in the chart of Bernard Arnault, as we said, he is the main guy standing behind the Louis Vuitton thing. And the luxurious places related to this clothes and the jewelry and all of that gadgets and all that stuff is energized by this 1st and 7th Parivartana. So this is about the business, but business is involving that kind of physical situation. So we can see how in our analysis of this Venus and Mars, we need to include this part of the lordship to modify the final result. Now, the third thing, which will be even more advanced, will be the yoga. And here we have 3 examples. First is the myth of beauty. So we have a model, Clacy, and we have this Venus and Mars being in a part of this moon Jupiter, which is the yoga for fame. We see how the 10th from moon, the Jupiter, is in the Lagna. Jupiter, Lagna Lord, in the Lagna, very strongly there. So we can see that this Venus and Mars can work for that Moon and Jupiter yoga. However, in Maya Angelou case, we can see that there is a Parivartana of that Mars in 7th with the Saturn and Ketu. So we have a Shraddha yoga in the 4th house of her childhood. And we know she had very bad experience. She was molested and then she was mute for many, many years. Then she was pregnant when she was 16. Childhood was quite problematic. And therefore we see how this yoga of Saturn Ketu is coloring that whole Mars and Venus in 7th house. So we cannot ignore the context in which this yoga appears in the chart. And there is even a more extreme situation. We have here the chart of the homicide and arsonist who was putting fire, especially under homes of retired people. And we see that here this Venus and Mars in 7th is a part of Papakartari, the malefic in 2nd and 12th, on the Mercury in the 6th. So on that yoga, which is also may cause some revolutionary or asocial behavior, especially if is also energized by other combinations in the chart, about which we will be talking soon. Now the position from the Arudha, this can also totally change the final outcome. Why we need Navamsha and Arudha? We already have the houses. Why to introduce another set of 12 houses? Now we have a free permutation of 12 because the Arudha will show us the social structure perspective, how we are bent to what society and the minds of others are offering us, because this is also power of the Devi, this is the part of Maya. And we are not living in isolated, hyper-individualist state. We are living among others. Therefore, the Arudha work, the Caracas, the moon, is very important to include in whatever we want to assess using Vedic astrology. And we have the Navamsha, the Bhagya filter. So this is what is ultimately surviving through all of this testing of fate. And what has the power to survive? Navamsha will show that. So certain houses from Arudha will have very specific way of manifestation, and here we will especially take into consideration Arudha and Upapada, but in our complex analysis we should include many, many more Arudhas and houses from Arudhas to get the complete view. In that arsonist chart, Paul Keller, we also know that he had very extreme negative experience in childhood. He was also molested by the volunteer firefighter. Also, there was something about he had some pills, medications for ADHD, which he stopped. And then what was the trigger was the divorce and feeling for bankruptcy. Also, what was written, what's interesting is that he had this very strong attachment to success. So if you don't have success, you are no one. He had this, we could say, very much capitalist. Therefore, this could brought that guilt. and people were saying that those arsons was his compensation for this, his feeling of lack of control. So that was the only time when he felt the power he can do something in a very negative way. So in this chart, we can see that this Venus-Mars, which is taking part in that Pisacha Mars and Ketu yoga on that Mercury, on that antisocial yoga here, this is in the second from Upapada. So second from Upapada is that Mars. Second from Upapada is the divorce, how the marriage is ending, if it's ending, when it's ending, what are the problems, the challenges, and so on. And this is in the third from the Arudha Lagna, which is showing that he is attacking people, others, the seven houses, others. He's attacking others with this yoga. So he's blasting this Mars to others. Therefore, you see, completely the same yoga, but completely different manifestation. Now the final modifier, the Navamsha. This is very important. I think the whole life we learn the language of rishis and the relationship between the Rashi and Navamsha. The theories will change. There will be a time when we'll think, oh, I've got this, I've mastered, I know what it shows. And then there will be other examples which will trash this perspective and will give birth to a new, better one, updated understanding of the Navamsha chart. Navamsha has this brilliant function that it can limit whatever we are seeing, or it can extend. So for example, in one chart of person who died in the 9/11 plane crash, we have this Mars and the Rahu. It was a Rahu and Venus Parivartana, but involving Mars and Rahu, which is showing the accidents. And now we also can see that in the Navamsha, these two planets are having the Kartari and the 12th house of demise. So in this way, we can say, oh, these planets are activating the 12th house. So maybe it is showing something serious. Also, interestingly, in those charts which I've collected, in the Dumont chart, in the terrorist, in the chart we already analyzed, in the Navamsha, we have this very strong Sarpa yoga. And in the other chart of Keller, who was this arsonist, we also can see that the very strong Sarpa yoga is also present in the Navamsha. We can see that those negative yogas, we need to very carefully analyze them in the Navamsha, because very often this is the place when they will be present for such extreme situation. So we started with the Panchanga, we went to Lordship, the Karaka, Arudha, and to the Navamsha. Of course, there are many more options and many more things to analyze within that options, but that set already is very, very advanced way. If we master this, we will go very much ahead of what we would be able to do otherwise. I encourage you to test these principles, and whenever you see some yoga, you can check all of these different perspectives, and using those modifiers, you can get better result of what is there to expect. Okay guys, so that's gonna be it for today. I hope that you find this interesting and informative. If you do, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up. You are really helping me without any cost to make that video more viral on this platform, so more people can watch this. Please join our Discord community when we are discussing those things using the examples. You can find the Discord link below. For one-on-one consultation, if you'd like me to help you analyze your chart with the Rashi, Navamsha, Dashamsa, timing, the remedies, the yogas, and using many dashas to understand what is really going in your chart, what you can do better in the main areas like career, relationship, and health. Thanks for watching to the end. If you would like to see how we analyze, for example, Tapashvi Yoga, which is one of the most popular and interesting because it is so multi-dimensional yoga, then this Tapashvi Yoga, and see you in this Tapashvi Yoga video.